the execution was pretty high on our side, especially from the second quarter on. Defense gave us some shorter fields in the second quarter. We cashed them in. Obviously, a big interception by Ja was important, and then hitting Marquez right going into half really kind of turned the tide, I think, a little bit for us, put us up by a couple scores. That was obviously very important for us. But just a different atmosphere, like I said. This is a really tough place to play with the noise, as is Lambeau. So it's going to be, strange next week to not hear our fans either.
And there is a fine line between effective video conferencing and hostage video. I was trying to pick up what Aaron Rodgers was really trying to tell us about his captors. What in the world was that? Chris, hello.
Yes, hello. Well, he's, the outlaw. He's back, baby. He just threw your damn team in jail and said, "Yeah, you'll stay there for a while." Okay,
don't
sorry.
Even start that now.
Sorry.
Look.
And I think he was a little motivated yesterday.
He should be happier.
Yeah.
He made no reference to going home and having a scotch or sipping tequila. He was incredible yesterday. What was that?
Well, maybe he drank so much tequila ever since they drafted Jordan Love. He's had his fill for the year, so he's just got to get back to the drawing board. He's ready for football now. He's going sober all out. But, man, he was unbelievable yesterday. I mean, he really was. Almost every throw, I know it was probably making you sick watching him dice and run around and throwing lasers. Woo! Oh, Aaron Rodgers.
Listen, I'm an adult, I'm a professional,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to watch 9 games at once.
Yeah.
When the Viking game stinks, it's all the more easier for me to focus on the other games. And I could tell from the very beginning, the first drive, the way Aaron Rodgers went down the field, it was going to be a long day. So anyway, we saved Aaron Rodgers until this hour because we start the second hour with our superlatives from week 1, the first Sunday of the regular season. And I specifically instructed Matt Casey, our producer today, to wait on Rodgers because I knew that would be Chris's superlative, so we may as well just talk about it all now.
Yeah, we might as well. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. What do I want to give him? What do we want to give him today for a superlative? The Red Hot Poker Award, or do we want to give him the, middle finger to the rest of the NFL? I mean, whatever you want it. Green Bay, that offense, the emergence of Valdez-Scantling, if he can be that type of threat throwing the ball down the field, Green Bay, that it'll change the way I look at their football team. I mean, that was the big question, was who could be that other receiver? And the way it started yesterday, aggressive, down the field throwing by the Green Bay Packers, all the things we kind of want, if they want to be in the NFC Championship or maybe the Super Bowl, they got to be better at that. They need another weapon on offense. Rodgers needs to let it go a little bit more and take some chances. He did all of that yesterday and looked good moving around too. He looked like a man on a mission. He was pretty awesome.
And that's Davante Adams. Let me tell you, if he keeps playing like he did yesterday, if he keeps working, if he keeps putting in the effort, he eventually may be a top 10 wideout.
You're a funny guy. You really are.
14 catches, 156
amazing.
yards, and 2 touchdowns for Adams, but Valdez-Scantling added 96, and the ball was spread around pretty well. I mean, it wasn't like the Cardinals where it was all Hopkins and then everyone else just with bits and pieces. There was more feasting done than just Davante Adams. But, yeah, incredible day for Aaron Rodgers. 32 for 44, 364, 4 touchdowns, a passer rating of 127.5. That's incredible. For a full game to have a passer rating that high, every once in a while we see somebody have something higher than that, but not often.
No.
And Rodgers was great. And, Chris, look, here's what happens when you go into a stadium where you're used to not being able to hear yourself think. Now, all of a sudden, you can go in and operate your offense. These teams that play their home games in loud stadiums, their defenses aren't nearly as good as we would be led to believe.
No.
We saw that yesterday.
You're right. I mean, it's unfortunate, but some of these teams are built because of that, too. Hey, we want a fast front four because we play on field turf, so we want that advantage. And then our crowd noise and their ability to be loud gives our defensive line the jump on the snap count. That's another advantage, along with the surface. Whoa, we're lightning fast out here. yeah, that advantage is going to be taken away from those teams like the Minnesota Vikings, where that's a part of their kind of their DNA as a football team. But yeah, I mean, if I'm Minnesota, I'm a little worried about my defense in general. We saw a lot of new pieces out there yesterday with no Danielle Hunter, and the way the Packers pass protected. I mean, Rodgers could bake a cake back there a few times. And then we talked about it a lot in the offseason. You got some new parts in Minnesota secondary. And Rodgers picked on them, especially it looked like number 24, Holton Hill. When he saw him matched up man-to-man, they went at him. So Minnesota's going to have to go back to the drawing board, too, and get healthy and figure out what they want to do as far as their approach is concerned, because their offense stunk, too.
I want to be positive in this segment, especially the first Monday of the year, and I've got plenty of positivity. But since we're in this neighborhood, let me go ahead and hand out the Scholarship Year Award to the Minnesota Vikings. And this gets back to something, Chris, that I argued back in January after the Vikings exited the postseason in ugly fashion against the 49ers. You have multiple key individuals up for contract extensions entering the final years of their deals. Kirk Cousins, Mike Zimmer, Rick Spielman, and Dalvin Cook. And what happened? That win over the Saints in the wild card round delivered extensions for all of them. My argument back then was don't extend any of them. Force them to go into this year and put you in a spot where you've got to sign them as they're about to hit the market. Make them chase that carrot. Because now when you throw in financial security with this crazy upside-down world we're living in with no fans, it's very easy to just say, this year isn't real. Next year we'll get back to work. And if yesterday's performance was an indication of how it's going to go all season long for the Vikings, most points ever allowed by the Vikings in an opening game in their franchise history, it's going to be a very long year.
Yeah, it definitely is. You're right. And they're kind of caught. They're a team that's kind of caught. I feel like where they're trying to kind of semi-rebuild, retool on the fly, going, ooh, we have a core here we kind of like. We think we can win with them. But, a core is a small group of players. A team wins championships. And, yeah, I just don't think the Vikings are a complete team as we sit here going into the 2020 season or now one game in. All right. I mean, let him go. Let him go. You see what he can freaking do when you let him go? Russell Wilson, holy cow. I mean, it's been an hour. We haven't talked about him yet. What the hell are we doing here? I mean, whoa, don't run the ball anymore. Let him go, okay? Because you can see what Russell Wilson can freaking do when you play through the pass game. I mean, that was amazing yesterday, too. I don't know where to start. I mean, you know, I was gushing about Aaron Rodgers. I think I got to gush more about Russell Wilson and what I saw there. I mean, first off, I just love how Seattle came out, attacked the Atlanta Falcons, really came out not trying to just pound the run game in between the tackles, a few creative screens and play action passes. And then the way he throws the football. And again, here's another guy, Mike. I think this might be a trend that we got to watch out for. Guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers on the road, like you're talking about. On these surfaces, it's changed the game. It has. Oh, yeah, defensive line can't get a jump. Okay, Russ, like we saw Aaron Rodgers, he'll sit back there and, oh, yeah, come on and come and get me. You might sack me. Oh, here I go, zoom, and then he throws the ball 30 yards by your ear. But him, DK Metcalf, 14-12, it's 4th and 5, and they go, it's man-to-man. Let's throw a go route for a 45-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf. That changed the game, and Russell Wilson was just absolutely phenomenal yesterday.
And according to Pro Football Focus, 68% passing on first and second down for the Seahawks. That was most in the NFL.
Go.
Also against man coverage, 22 for 23 was Russell Wilson. Look, this was mandatory. And it's funny. I think I've found a trigger for Tony Dungy. All I have to do is mention the possibility of Russell Wilson leaving Seattle. He is adamantly opposed to that concept. But I'm telling – look, he's talked about it himself. Russell Wilson told us. Russell Wilson has said it more recently. The idea that he wants a greater sense of urgency on offense earlier in the games. And I know for a fact that conversation was had in very pointed fashion with the team in a not quite flat-out ultimatum, but the message is clear.
Yeah.
Let Russ cook, or you're going to be, as I was told by a source close to Russell Wilson, or you're going to be baking the farewell cake. And they heeded it. They did what they had. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
You've got one of the best quarterbacks in the entire National Football League. You've got a Ferrari in your garage that you refuse to drive above 25 miles per hour. It's an easy thing to do. It's not like they're telling you to go take a jalopy 50 miles an hour down the road. You have the car. Go drive it. And it worked.
Yeah.
And you know, we get to see it again Sunday night against the New England Patriots.
I know. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and this will be a different test for that Seattle offense. But, yes, you're paying them all that money. The way the team's formulated right now, there's probably more go-to aspects on the offensive side of the football when you break down, Lockett with Metcalf, Chris Carson, how good he is. Hey, Greg Olsen infused into the tight end lineup gives them another weapon there. You know, we got to see if Philip Dorsett can contribute and all that too. But either way, Seattle's defense is good. It's not great, but they don't need to be great to get to a Super Bowl or even win a Super Bowl. They just got to be around like the middle of the league. Last year, I believe they were 22nd in football, and we didn't hit on this yet either, but Jamal Adams is going to change that defense for sure. Well, that's another thing that was very impressive about the Seattle Seahawks and the way they looked yesterday. They got difference makers everywhere on the field, and that's big.
Russell Wilson is wired to credit everyone on his team, but there are certain guys that he credited even more heavily when I talked to him yesterday. When I asked him for his reaction to Jamal Adams, it was just one. I mean, and it was, you could hear the shift in his voice. Hall of Fame, championship caliber, leadership, passion. I mean, exactly what that defense needs. So Russell Wilson's on board. Jamal Adams said yesterday, it's basically fun to play for a team that can score that many points.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been stuck with a team that can't. Right.
Took a
Come
shot
on,
out the door. He gave him an uppercut.
You won. You won. Let it go.
Seriously.
As you would say. But the other thing, too, Russell Wilson talked to me about how much time he spent in the offseason with DK Metcalf working on helping him elevate. And he's convinced Metcalf is one of the best receivers in football right now. Underrated along with Tyler Lockett. Russell's happy about that. They're not going to stay underrated, though, if they keep throwing the ball the way they have. Metcalf had a huge... How in the hell does this guy stay on the board until the bottom of round 2, Chris? But this is a guy who's going to be a cornerstone of that offense with Russell Wilson for years to come.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature. I mean, he really is. He's one of those guys that you just see him and you go, he looks different than most receivers. Wow. I mean, he's a specimen, and you could see his ability to run and just run by people, catch the ball, break tackles. Their receiving core, they got a chance. They do. This is, I think, as good as Russell's ever had around him as far as real big-time playmakers. I know Baldwin and that group, Curse, were very good. I don't know if they had the big-time playmaking ability that this group does, and I think that's what excites me about the Seahawks.
All right, next one for me, and I am going to go positive. How about this? Revenge is a dish best served ice cold award, although it doesn't sound all that positive.
No, it does not.
Ravens avenging their last regular season defeat when the Cleveland Browns went to town last year, week 4, beat the Ravens. That's the last time the Ravens have lost a regular season game. The Browns came back yesterday to start the season. Better Browns team this year. Who knows what the Ravens are going to be? We found out what the Ravens are going to be. 38-6, blown off the field were the Cleveland Browns, and the Ravens picking up exactly where they left off and getting their revenge nearly a year later for what the Browns did to them in 2019.
Yeah, impressive win. Impressive win, and did it without dominating the run game. I think that's where I look at it and go, okay, Baltimore. Oh, what do we need to see from Lamar Jackson? The next step in pocket passing, being precise, doing all those things. Well, we freaking saw it yesterday in week 1. You know, I don't know. It's the greatest receiver throwing quarterback I've ever seen. Man, good thing they moved his butt to quarterback. That was a good move. Holy cow. Because we know what he can do athletically. But yesterday, how many times when we were sitting there watching the game did he make unbelievable throws within the pocket? And not to just guys that were screaming wide open because they were dominating the run game and it was play action passes. No, these were true pocket passes into tight windows, sidearm, touch. Oh, an out route to Mark Andrews in the end zone, tight coverage, zoo, laser in there. I mean, Lamar Jackson was really, really impressive. And they were on another class from Cleveland yesterday. Cleveland didn't even look like they belonged on the field with them.
And let's remember this, and we're going to talk more about this coming up because I had an extended conversation with John Harbaugh, the coach of the team, yesterday. But this was start number 23 in the regular season for Lamar Jackson. The ceiling is still out there. This isn't a grizzled veteran who is, entering the back half of his prime. His prime isn't even going to be here for 3 or 4 more years. As long as he stays healthy. I know it's a little bit different for him than Patrick Mahomes because so much of his game is premised on running the football. But my God, Chris, to see where Lamar Jackson is, to see the growth in the passing game already, that bodes very well for the Ravens and not so well for their opponents over the next 5 or 10 years.
No, I mean, if he can get to that point where you start to go, oh, man, he's a deadly passer. He can throw with precision, accuracy, and he understands our defensive pass coverages and knows where to go with the ball every time. And we're seeing he's gotten remarkably better each year so far. Yeah, they'll be unstoppable because they're big as hell up front. They got unbelievable running backs, and they got some scary receivers and tight ends that can scare you, in the pass game. So, yeah, Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh, that's quite the group there.
And growth was the word that Harbaugh used because he's seen it from Lamar Jackson throughout camp. He saw it yesterday. He said he played about as well as he could have played, which means, maybe he is getting close to the ceiling. But I think once he gets to the ceiling, he's going to bust through it and find an even higher level of performance. The decision-making, the patience, everything about the way he controls that offense and grows into that offense. And, we talked about the importance of forgetting about last year because that's what Bill Belichick would do with the Patriots. Forget about last year. Last year's over. Harbaugh told me that his guys keenly remember last year because that's their standard. They remember 14-2, and it's risky because if you lose a game or two early on, all of a sudden you can't match 14-2. You better come up with some other standard. But for them, they know what they did last year, and that is their bar for this year. That's their minimum for this year. And when you see that kind of a blowout win right out of the gates, I mean, that's the kind of team that has the potential to have that special season. We saw it from the Chiefs the other night. And you look at the Chiefs' home schedule. I mean, they are going to roll, and the Ravens are going to roll. And, oh, by the way, it's just 2 weeks from tonight. The Ravens and the Chiefs cross paths on Monday Night Football. So one of these two potentially dominant teams is going to lose, barring a tie before too long. But, Lamar Jackson, It was not a one-year fluke. This guy is laying the foundation to be one of the great NFL quarterbacks for years to come. And we talked about Mahomes. We talked about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's the only one of them that was the first overall pick who's having this great growth in year 2. I'm still astounded that Lamar Jackson was hanging around all the way until the end of round 1 a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, he shouldn't have been. I mean, he definitely shouldn't have been. That's that's why I was tooting his horn then too. He was more than just a runner. He was a guy that wanted to throw the football and had plenty of evidence on film of high-level throwing. Was it always perfect? No. But, man, the Ravens, like Mike, just to capitalize or, finish off that thought, they got everything. They really do. And not only everything like on the field, they got the right leaders, the right attitude, people who love football and love to compete and get in the scrum and, it's 20-all in the fourth quarter. They relish it. They really have a great makeup, and, they're not going anywhere. We know that. Well, okay. I mean, I got to go. My next superlative is, who I'm going to. I'm going up to Buffalo. It's my boy, Blue. That's my boy. I mean, Josh Allen. Yeah. I mean, again, first off, the common theme we see here, you talked about Lamar. We've talked about Russell Wilson. Earlier in the show, we talked about Kyler Murray. Now we're on Josh Allen. Here's 4 quarterbacks that all had great days passing that also led their team in rushing, okay? That just tells you these guys, and if you want to wonder why I have these guys ranked ahead of Tom Brady and Drew Brees in quarterback rankings, because they can't do that crap. They can't carry their team the way they can. Josh Allen yesterday was amazing. And for all the people that always want to talk about only the negative with Josh Allen, wow, was he accurate. Man, ball was on the money all day long. Stop hating on the damn kid. And then his ability to run and create plays off of that was special yesterday. Is it a little loose still? Is there a play or two where you go, hey, go down, or don't, flip in the air and jump over a guy and then fumble the football. Yes, he's a little crazy that way, and he still needs to be reined in. But again, I think we saw, just like we talked about Lamar Jackson, here's another guy in year 3 where we continue to see goodness just being built on top of each other. And now with Diggs on that offense and things like that, Josh Allen was one of the standout stars of week 1 in the NFL.
And look, I agree with you. And he was one of my superlatives under the title "Don't Believe What They Say in August" award, because he said back then he wasn't going to run as much this year. He had 14 carries yesterday. But the first fumble was just one of those what in the hell Houston Texans moments, right, that we thought would be ironed out of his game. And there were a couple of touchdowns he could have thrown on top of the ones he did where the ball sails over the heads of the receivers. So he's still not a finished product.
No. But
he's getting closer to it than he was his first 2 NFL seasons.
Exactly.
And to see them just blow the Jets off the field yesterday, a game that I, for some stupid ass reason, thought the Jets would win.
Wait, hold on. We disagreed on 4 games in our picks last week. Oh, thy Chris Simms swept Florio in all 4 disagreements. Woo, baby, it's a good week. Here we go, 2020.
Yeah, don't get used to it. Don't get used to it. I felt bad for you for getting destroyed by me so badly. Against the spread, I did all right though. I threaded the needle. Well, no, I didn't thread the needle. You threaded the needle.
I think
you
I did.
threaded the needle by a half point on the Bengals Chargers.
Yeah, good.
You picked the Chargers to win by 3, and they did, which meant you got the Chargers right and you got the Bengals on the cover.
Yes, that's what I do. It's the kind of year it's going to be. It's going to be domination. I'm going to be like Mahomes. I'm going to throw 55 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions and just kill you. That's what I'm going to do this year.
I was 6-7-1 versus the spread. Shut up, Pete.
Yeah, hey, Pete. Get him right.
On the days when Pete's producing, we don't get barraged by text messages from Matt Casey. On the days Casey's producing, Pete's constantly chiming in things I don't want to hear.
Good. I like Pete. Good.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Matt Rule is ready for primetime award. Overlooked, and we haven't talked about the Raiders beating the Panthers. And, Raiders fans, hey, good. Welcome to Las Vegas. You went on the road and you won, but this is a game you should have romped, right? This was one of our best bets last week. Raiders given 3.5, and they won by 4. And I don't know how the hell they won by 4. The Panthers gave them everything they could handle. So, I mean, think about all the turmoil. We talked about the value of continuity. You've got a college coach who's got 1 year as an assistant offensive line coach in the NFL 8 years ago. He's been at Temple. He's been at Baylor. They got all these new players, all the draft picks spent on defensive guys. Teddy Bridgewater starting quarterback for the first time since the playoffs in 2015. And they almost won the game. They were in it. This is good news for the Carolina Panthers. Good news for Matt Rule. This and this was a great, exciting game. It was one of the best games of the day. But because we had it all pigeonholed as Raiders are going to easily win, we didn't pay attention to it. Impressive for the Raiders, but I think more impressive for the Panthers. Matt Rule and company are ready to compete in the NFL.
Yeah, they are. And I think it speaks to what I think a lot of people saw in Matt Rule and why he's been in that NFL head coach conversation for the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, and then I'll tell you the other thing. He took it like a man as far as his 4th down call, right? Where they gave the ball to the fullback up the middle? Am I remember that correctly? Right? He said, I should have given the ball to McCaffrey. I should have just given the best player. Like I love that. I love that. The team can buy into that. They really will. They'll get behind him. They'll support him when they realize he'll take one on the chin for them at their expense. But there was a lot to like, and this is a young football team in Carolina. It really is. So that's very impressive to see. The offense made some plays. Teddy Bridgewater looked good. Joe Brady, the new offensive coordinator coming from college, he certainly seemed like he was not out of his league. That's for sure. You're right. The Raiders, the big thing is a little bit like what we talked about, and I think the question still remains, right, is one, can they create some big plays in the pass game? We saw a little, and then Henry Ruggs got hurt, so that really screwed things over that way. But then their defense. The defense is a question. I think it's going to continue to be a question. It's young, and I just don't know how many difference makers are on there that can make a play to get off on 3rd down or a big moment in the 4th quarter, and that's going to be something to watch out for with the Raiders.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.